Hi. I know this isn't your usual story, but maybe, just maybe, it's one you need to hear. I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to tell the truth. I'm 62. I was a mother, a wife, a caregiver, and a fool. But not anymore. If you've ever felt invisible, unwanted, or like your own family treats you like a burden, stay with me. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe in second chances. Because I didn't just survive. I turned the tables. Because what I'm about to share isn't fiction. It's my life. And maybe it's yours too. Hi. My name is Margaret. I'm 62 years old. And I'm filming this from a one-bedroom apartment that smells like cheap paint and yesterday's sorrow. There's a single chair in this room, a kettle that whistles when it feels like it, and a calendar on the wall still stuck on April. No one noticed. No one flipped the page. No one's visited in months. But I wasn't always alone. I wasn't always invisible. I used to live in a big, bustling house. The kind with family portraits lining the hallway and a kitchen that never went quiet. I raised 3 children in that house. I held my husband's hand in that house as cancer chewed away at him, bit by bit. I made soup when the kids were sick, worked 2 jobs when the bills piled up, and gave everything I had, and then some, to the people I loved. They needed me then. But now? Now I'm a ghost in their lives. And sometimes, I feel like one in mine. You might think I'm exaggerating. But if you've ever looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back, if you've ever sat in silence for so long that your own thoughts started to echo, then maybe you already know. This isn't just loneliness. This is erasure. I didn't end up here because of bad luck. I ended up here because of betrayal. Because I trusted the wrong people. Because I believed that love, family love, was unconditional. I was wrong. Let me take you back to where it really began. Not the beginning, no. That story is full of baby blankets and scraped knees and lullabies. That's not the story that broke me. The story that broke me began 3 years ago. Right after my husband died, and my children suddenly started using words like downsizing, burden, and mom, it's for your own good. I believed them. I wish I hadn't. They told me I needed less space, less stress, a smaller place to rest. But what they really meant was, we need your house, your savings, your silence. So I gave them everything. And now here I sit, in an apartment that isn't mine, with a bank account that's almost empty and a heart that's been broken in more ways than I knew possible. But something's about to change. I don't know how yet, not fully, but I feel it. I feel a flicker where the fire used to be. And I want you to walk this road with me. Not just because it's mine, but because it might be yours too. Or your mother's. Or your neighbor's. Or the woman you pass in the grocery store, quiet and invisible. This isn't just a story. It's a warning, a confession, a spark. Stay with me. Because soon, the people who left me here, they're going to wish they hadn't. Want to hear what happened when they came knocking on my door again? If you're still here, thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Not just for me, but for every woman who's ever been pushed aside and told to be grateful for crumbs. What I'm about to tell you, it's the moment I stopped being mom and started being a resource. I still remember what I was wearing that day. A pale blue cardigan, the one with the loose button I always meant to fix. My husband used to say it brought out the kindness in my eyes. Funny thing is, kindness had no place in what was coming. My oldest son, Nathan, showed up on a Sunday morning. He had this sheepish smile, just like when he used to break the cookie jar as a kid. Only this time, he wasn't asking for forgiveness. He was laying a trap. Mom, he said, we've been thinking about your future. It's not safe for you to live alone in that big old house anymore. I blinked. I've lived here for 30 years, Nathan. I raised you in this house. He didn't flinch. Exactly. You're attached. But it's too much now. Maintenance, taxes, plus, we could use the space. We. The second he said that word, I felt something curl cold and tight in my stomach. I wasn't naive. I knew his wife, Kendra, had been angling for our house ever since my husband's funeral. But hearing it out loud, that was different. Still, I tried to be the good mother. The agreeable mother. I nodded, asked questions. I even offered them tea. And while I was pouring it, Kendra walked through my kitchen like she already owned it. "We'd renovate this entire space," she said to Nathan, not to me. "Open it up. Tear out that wall. Finally make it livable." Livable. As if the place that held my husband's laughter and my children's first steps was just drywall and inconvenience. Nathan sat me down and pulled out a folder. "Don't worry, Mom. It's just paperwork. We're going to refinance the house in your name for now, just until our business stabilizes." He talked fast. Numbers. Loans. Equity. I didn't understand half of it, but what I did understand was that my son, the boy I nursed through broken bones and bad dreams, was asking me to sign away the only thing I had left of my life. And I did it. Why? Because I loved him. Because I thought maybe this was how you earned a place in their lives, by staying useful. They moved me out within the week. Not into a retirement home. No. Into the converted garage of their new house. They called it a guest suite. It had no heating, no windows, no lock on the door. But they said I should feel grateful. I told myself it was temporary, that they just needed help, that they would remember, one day, how much I'd given. But they didn't. They never did. And every night, as I lay there on a creaky cot, listening to laughter and music and life just beyond a wall I wasn't invited through, I started to wonder if I was still alive, or if I'd already been buried beneath all the ways I'd made myself small for them. But don't worry, because the woman they tried to erase? She's still here. And one day soon, they're going to realize just how big a mistake they made. Next chapter is where the mask truly starts to slip. Want to know what Kendra did when she thought I wasn't listening? Before we begin, if this is hitting a little too close to home, you're not alone. Share this video. Like it. Subscribe. Because the more we tell the truth, the less power silence has over us. And trust me, silence was what nearly killed me. I used to think a smile meant kindness. That when someone smiled at you, especially family, it meant you were safe. That you mattered. But then I met the kind of smile Kendra wore. The kind that didn't touch the eyes. The kind that was always a little too slow, a little too perfect. Like it had been practiced in a mirror for years. She was polite. At first. In front of Nathan, she'd pat my shoulder and call me Mama Max. She made me tea with too much sugar and asked how I slept in the cozy guest suite. But behind closed doors, when Nathan wasn't home, the sugar stopped. The smile cracked, and I saw the truth. "You're lucky to be here, you know," she said once, while reheating leftovers and placing them on a paper plate. "Most women your age end up in nursing homes." I said nothing, just stared at the broccoli she hadn't bothered to warm properly. She leaned closer, her voice like perfume-scented poison. "I know how this looks to you. But Nathan and I, we have plans. Big ones. You being here is inconvenient. But we're patient. Eventually, we'll sell that house. Fully. Clean break." I blinked. Sell? But it's in my name. She smiled again. That same terrifying smile. Not for long. I don't know if it was arrogance or stupidity that made her say it out loud. But something shifted in me that day. Not anger, not yet. Just a slow, steady burn of awareness. The kind that makes you sit a little straighter. Listen a little closer. After that, I started noticing things. The calls she made when she thought I was asleep. Whispering about bank accounts. No, she hasn't figured it out yet. The mail that suddenly stopped coming. My name disappearing from statements. Even the medicine I relied on started to get lost. And Nathan? He never looked at me the same. Not like a son. More like a landlord. Distant. Cold. Always busy. Always too busy to ask how I was adjusting. Always ready to remind me, "We're under pressure, Mom. This setup helps all of us. Don't make it harder." I wanted to scream, "How is this helping me?" But I didn't scream. Not yet. Because I was too ashamed. Ashamed that I had let it happen. Ashamed that I had raised a man who could treat his mother like a liability. Ashamed that after a lifetime of service, I had become a woman they whispered about, a woman they managed. But remember this, if you've ever felt that kind of shame, shame only sticks to you if you stay quiet. And I was done being quiet. Because one day soon, they were going to wish I had spoken up sooner. What did I find in the mailbox the day everything started to change? Before I tell you what I found, I want you to do something. If you've ever trusted someone only to be blindsided by betrayal, please hit that like button. Share this video. Subscribe. Because somewhere, another woman needs to know she's not the only one who saw the danger too late. It was a Thursday. The air was thick with humidity, and the tiny fan in my room made more noise than breeze. I was folding laundry, my own clothes, which had been reduced to 3 outfits rotated in silence, when I heard the mail slot open in the front of the main house. I wasn't supposed to get mail anymore. Kendra had kindly offered to handle all my correspondence, saying, "It's just easier that way." But something told me to check. Maybe it was instinct. Or maybe it was the voice I'd buried for years, the one that used to know when my kids were lying or when something wasn't quite right. That voice was whispering again, louder this time. I waited until the house was quiet. Then I slipped through the side entrance, careful not to make the door creak. There it was. One thin envelope, wedged between ads and real estate flyers. Addressed to me, but nearly hidden. The return address read, Midwestern Federal Credit Union. That's the bank where my husband and I kept our joint savings. Or, used to. My hands trembled as I opened it, the paper soft with heat. My eyes scanned the words slowly at first, then twice, 3 times, just to be sure. Available balance, $47. 22, my heart slammed against my ribs. That account was supposed to have over $60,000. Savings we built for rainy days. Apparently, the rain had come and I hadn't even been told. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just sat down right there on the porch steps and stared out at the hedge Kendra always insisted was too messy for her aesthetic. The birds were chirping. The breeze had finally arrived. But inside me, a storm began. Later that night, I confronted Nathan. I held the letter out, my hand steady even though my voice cracked. Where is it? The savings account. He rubbed his eyes like I was bothering him. Mom, we needed help with the down payment for the business expansion. We figured. 2 words that always meant we took. You didn't ask me. His jaw tightened. You always said it was for the family. For emergencies, I said. This wasn't an emergency. This was theft. He stood up then, towering over me like he used to when he was 13 and didn't want to eat his vegetables. We'll pay you back. But I could see it. The lie. They were never going to pay me back. They didn't think they had to. I was just the old lady in the guest suite. That night, I sat on my cot and stared at the ceiling for hours. And when I finally picked up my phone, I didn't call Nathan. I didn't call a friend. I didn't even cry. I opened the camera app, hit record, and whispered the words I never thought I'd say. They emptied my account. My own son. My own blood. And I let him. That video? I never meant to post it. Not then. But it saved me. Because that was the moment I stopped being afraid of telling the truth. And once the truth starts spilling, the liars start sweating. Want to know what happened the first time a stranger watched my video and left a comment that changed everything? If you're still watching, I need you to do something bold, something I couldn't do for years. Speak up. Share this. Subscribe. Because silence may feel safe, but it's where the worst betrayals grow. And today, I'm going to tell you about the favor that cost me everything. 2 days after I found the letter from the bank, I tried to distance myself from Nathan and Kendra. Not physically, I had nowhere to go. But emotionally, I started pulling back. No more long silences over dinner. No more forced smiles when Kendra asked how I liked the chili she microwaved. I started watching other people's videos, older women like me, telling their stories. Women who'd been discarded, downsized, and dismissed. Their voices were raw, but honest. And in every one of them, I heard myself. Then, late one evening, Nathan came knocking on the garage door. He didn't look like himself. His hair was messy, and his usually smug expression was replaced by something else: panic. "Mom, we need a favor." I stayed seated on the cot. My knees were wrapped in an old heating pad. "What kind of favor?" He hesitated. "It's just paperwork. We're refinancing the business loan, but the bank said we need a guarantor. Just temporary, name only. You won't owe anything." I didn't say anything. He stepped inside without being invited. "It's just a signature, Mom. You know we've always done everything for the family." Everything for the family. I almost laughed, because everything always meant everything for me. My savings, my house, my silence. Now they wanted my name, too. I asked for the papers. He handed me a thick packet, stapled and highlighted in yellow. I didn't understand most of it, but I understood the word at the top, collateral. And I understood what it meant when I saw my name under the heading. They wanted to use my name to put up my former home, my own house, as collateral for their business debt. "I need time," I said. "I want a lawyer to look at this." He froze. "A lawyer?" "Yes," I said, firmly this time. "This isn't a favor. This is a risk. And I've given you enough." He didn't yell. No, Nathan was smarter than that. But he did the thing that broke me more than shouting ever could. He smiled. That same, cold, rehearsed smile Kendra wore. He said, "Fine, Mom. I guess we'll have to figure something else out. Just remember who's been letting you stay here rent-free." Then he walked out. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel guilt. I felt rage. I sat down and made another video. I didn't care who saw it. I spoke like I was speaking to one woman out there who was still signing favors in the name of love. I told the whole story. This time, I posted it. That video got 11 views in the first hour. Then 78. Then 300. And then, a comment. Just one. From someone named HopeRises72. It read, "This is my story too. You're not alone. Don't sign anything. I can help you find someone to look over the documents for free." My hands shook as I replied. Not because I was scared of being seen, but because I finally was. What did I find out when I gave those documents to a lawyer? You won't believe how deep the betrayal ran. Before I tell you what the lawyer uncovered, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Like you were just there? Not valued, not heard, just a placeholder. If you have, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe. Because today, I'm going to show you what it really means to be used, and then discarded. The lawyer's name was Diane. A kind woman, probably in her early 70s, with silver hair pulled back in a bun and a voice like calm thunder. She'd seen my video, one of thousands who had by then. But she was the only one who offered more than sympathy. "I know what they did," she said, after scanning the loan documents Nathan had given me. "And it's worse than you think." I sat across from her in a cramped office above a bookstore downtown. It smelled of old paper and peppermint tea. Somehow, that felt safer than any home I'd known in years. "They weren't just asking for your signature," Diane said. "They were trying to make you the sole guarantor for a $300,000 business loan. If the business defaults, you'd be legally responsible to repay it." And guess what they put as collateral? I already knew. "My old house," I said. She nodded. "And the kicker? They listed it as unencumbered property, which means they're claiming full ownership. No mention of you anywhere." I stared at the contract. I couldn't cry. I was too stunned. "They didn't just want your help," she said gently. "They wanted to erase you." Erase me. That word stuck to my ribs like wet cement. I'd spent my whole life being something to someone else. Wife, mother, caretaker. But now I wasn't even a line item on a piece of paper. I wasn't a person. I was a resource. Diane leaned in. "You haven't lost everything, Margaret. But you need to act fast." That night, I returned to the guest house quietly. I didn't speak to Nathan or Kendra. I didn't even look at them. I waited until the lights went out. And then I packed my bag. It wasn't much, just a few clothes, some old photographs, and the printout of that legal document. I left a note that read, "I was never a burden. But you were. I've taken the one thing you left me, my voice. And it's louder than you think." Then I walked out the door and didn't look back. I moved into a friend's spare room, someone who had messaged me through the channel and offered me a safe place while I sorted things out. And for the first time in months, I slept. No creaking cot. No laughter behind thin walls. No footsteps creeping across the ceiling like ghosts of the life I used to have. Just quiet. And the knowledge that I had finally chosen myself. Want to know what happened when Nathan discovered I was gone and what he tried to do next? If you've ever waited for someone to remember you, and they didn't, then you already know what I'm about to say. Before I start, please like this video, share it, and subscribe. Because this part? It broke something in me that took years to rebuild. My birthday used to be a family affair. Balloons, laughter, Nathan bringing flowers, and the grandkids climbing all over me like I was the best part of their world. That was before I became an inconvenience. After I left the guest house, I didn't expect flowers or even a phone call. But part of me, a very small, very foolish part, hoped they'd notice I was gone. That they'd care. That maybe they'd miss me. Instead, the day came and went like fog. No messages, no calls, nothing from Nathan, nothing from Kendra, not even a half-hearted text from my daughter, who hadn't returned a single call since the funeral. But just before midnight, there was a knock at the door. I froze. I'd told almost no one where I was staying. My heart pounded as I peeked through the curtain. And there she was. My granddaughter, Ellie, 8 years old, wearing mismatched pajamas and pink plastic slippers, clutching something in both hands. I opened the door in silence. "Hi, Grandma," she said, like it was just another Saturday night. Before I could speak, she held out a little paper plate. On it sat a cupcake, slightly smashed, with a single candle stuck sideways in the frosting. "I told Mommy you forgot your birthday," she said. "She said you weren't around, but I saved this from my brother's party last week. I wanted you to have it." That candle broke me. Not the flame. The fact that it was still unlit. No one had even bothered to give her a lighter. No one expected the candle to be used. I kneeled down and hugged her, hard. Harder than I'd meant to, and I whispered, "Thank you, baby. You're the only one who remembered." She shrugged. "I didn't forget. You're my grandma." I didn't cry until after she left, when her father came to pick her up, not even stepping out of the car. I stood at the window with that cold, broken cupcake in my hands. And I realized something important. They hadn't just forgotten my birthday. They had forgotten I was human. Forgotten that I had a heart and memories and a name that wasn't just Mom or Grandma. They had rewritten me into the background of their lives and expected me to stay there, quietly fading. But not anymore. That night, I posted another video. This time, I didn't ask for sympathy. I asked a question. When did they stop celebrating you? And when did you decide to stop waiting for them to start again? That video hit 1 million views in 3 days. And somewhere in that wave of comments, likes, and shares, one message changed everything. Not from a stranger this time, but from someone I never thought would reach out. In next chapter, you'll hear what my late husband tried to protect me from and how he left me one last gift that could change it all. If you've ever been talked over, brushed off, or told it's just your age, then this chapter is for you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Because women like us, we deserve to be heard and believed. Not long after my birthday passed like a shadow, I started feeling off. At first, it was just fatigue. The kind that sleeps inside your bones. Then came the dizzy spells, the memory lapses, the trembling hands. I blamed it on stress, on grief, on the weight of everything I was holding in. But when I nearly collapsed while doing the dishes, The woman I was staying with, her name's Linda, insisted I go see a doctor. So I did. I sat in that cold, sterile room with the paper gown stuck to my back and tried to explain the symptoms. But the doctor barely looked at me. Just typed. Nodded. Checked his watch. "You're 62, he said flatly. "This is probably menopause. Or depression. Or both." I tried to push. "But I went through menopause years ago. And this feels different." He glanced at his tablet. "You've had a stressful year. That can manifest physically. Try to get more rest. Take a multivitamin." That was it. No tests. No labs. No follow-up. I left the clinic more broken than I'd arrived. Because that wasn't just a medical failure, it was a mirror held up to everything else in my life. I'd been invisible in my family. And now I was invisible in the system. That night, I recorded another video. I didn't even use a script. I just stared into the camera and said what I needed anyone to hear. They ignored me at the dinner table. Then they ignored me in the doctor's office. I'm not a ghost. I'm not an old chair to be moved from one corner to another. I'm a woman. I'm a mother. I'm a person. I didn't know how many people would care. But they did. The video exploded. Dozens, then hundreds of women left comments saying, "That happened to me too." Stories about misdiagnosed heart attacks, dismissed pain, and a healthcare system that saw wrinkles before it saw worth. But the comment that shook me the most came from someone named M. Whitmore Legal. It said, "Your husband left you something." A clause, buried deep. "Don't trust what they told you. Email me." At first, I thought it was spam. But I sent the email anyway. What I got back changed everything. Because my late husband, who had barely spoken the last few months of his life, had tried to protect me after all. In a will I never knew existed. In chapter next, I'll tell you about the letter my husband wrote before he died and the hidden clause that could bring everything crashing down on the people who betrayed me. Before I share what my husband left behind, I want to ask you, have you ever believed someone was gone, only to discover they left you something more powerful than words? If so, this is your chapter. Like, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes, the people who couldn't speak for us in life still find a way to protect us in death. The email came late at night. I was lying awake, the ache in my chest growing heavier with every hour of silence. I clicked it open expecting confusion or, honestly, disappointment. But there it was. A PDF attachment titled, "Revised Will, Frederick Charles Whitmore." I froze. My husband's full name. The man who held my hand through every storm we faced. The man who, in the final months of his cancer, barely had the strength to speak. We thought his affairs were in order. Nathan assured me after the funeral that Dad kept it simple. Left it all to the family. What he didn't tell me was that I was the family. And Whitmore Legal explained that before Fred's illness took the better part of him, he had drawn up a second will with his longtime estate attorney. One that had never been filed by Nathan, even though he was legally responsible to report it. This revised document stated that the house, the same house they forced me out of, was to remain in my name only until my death or voluntary sale. It also included a living trust, separate from the savings account Nathan drained, worth $180,000. Money Fred had quietly placed aside, just in case things turned ugly after he was gone. Tears spilled down my cheeks before I could even breathe, because Fred had known. He had seen what I refused to see, the way Nathan looked past me, the way Kendra smiled with teeth instead of warmth. He had tried to leave me a shield. And they buried it. Literally. The documents had been stored in a safe deposit box, and Nathan never mentioned it. Never claimed it. Legally, it was mine to claim. I held the printed copy in my hands the next morning like it was a photograph from another life. I didn't say a word to Nathan or Kendra. Not yet. Instead, I went back to Diane, the lawyer. She looked through everything with calm precision. "This gives you full legal standing," she said. "And more importantly, it proves intent. If they acted against this will, it could be considered fraud, maybe even criminal misconduct. I nodded slowly, but inside, a fire had started. Not for revenge. For justice. Because they hadn't just stolen my money. They tried to erase the very last act of love my husband gave me. They told me I had nothing. But I had this. His voice. His care. His protection. Even from beyond the grave. And now? It was time they learned what silence sounds like when it finally speaks back. In chapter next, everything starts to unravel. Want to hear what happened when I confronted them with the truth and how they reacted when they realized I held all the power? Before I opened that door and shattered the lies they built, I did one thing. I wrote a letter. Not to them, but to the man who once held my world together. Please like, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes closure comes not from confrontation, but from finally saying what we never got the chance to say. The night before I confronted Nathan and Kendra, I couldn't sleep. You'd think I'd be planning my words, rehearsing my calm fury. But I wasn't. I was grieving. Grieving the version of my family I thought I had. The son I believed in. The love I thought would carry us through the years. The woman I used to be, quiet, trusting, generous to a fault. So instead of sleeping, I wrote a letter to Fred. Dear Fred, I found it. The will. The trust. The gift you tried to leave me while your body was giving up, but your heart was still fighting. I should have seen the signs, shouldn't I? You knew they'd do this. You tried to warn me. But I kept saying no, Fred. They love us. They'd never, and they did. They took everything, Fred. The house, the money, my dignity. But they didn't take you. Not your memory. Not your wisdom. Not the quiet way you always protected me even when I was too stubborn to see it. Tomorrow, I'm walking into that house. And I'm going to show them that I am not a burden. I am the storm they never saw coming. Love always, your Maggie. I folded the letter, tucked it into my wallet, and slept for the first time in weeks. The next morning, I wore the same pale blue cardigan from the day they asked me to give up the house. The one with the loose button Fred always loved. I walked up to their front door, not the side entrance, not the garage. The front door. Kendra opened it. She blinked. Oh, Margaret. We weren't expecting you. I smiled politely. I didn't come to visit. I came for a meeting. Nathan appeared behind her, his face going pale. I handed them the folder. Inside was a certified copy of the revised will, the living trust paperwork, and a legal notice from Diane that we were formally requesting restitution and control of the property. Nathan's hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. You don't understand, he said, voice tight. I understand perfectly, I said. You lied. You manipulated. And you tried to bury the only thing your father left behind for me. Kendra tried to cut in, but I held up a hand. I'm not here for a fight. I'm here to take back what was mine all along. Then I said something I never thought I'd have the strength to say. You don't get to use me anymore. Not my name. Not my silence. Not my home. And with that, I turned and walked away. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. Because power doesn't always scream. Sometimes it walks away with dignity. In chapter next, I'll tell you what happened when their business collapsed and who they came begging to next. If you've ever been the afterthought, only remembered when they needed something from you, then this chapter is yours. Please like, share, and subscribe. Because when people lose everything, they suddenly remember the ones they once stepped over. It took 3 weeks. 3 weeks after I handed them the will and walked away with my head high, their world started crumbling, brick by fraudulent brick. Nathan's business had been shaky for a while, though they never admitted it. All those expansions he bragged about? Built on loans, lies, and a name he thought would shield him forever. Mine. But now that I had reclaimed that name legally and revoked any authorization tied to it, his loan guarantees vanished. So, did the financial cushion he thought he could fall back on. The first time he called, I didn't answer. The second time, he left a voicemail. Mom, we need to talk. Please. Things are. Things are complicated. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I'd spent years answering calls, showing up, signing papers, smiling when it hurt. This time, I let silence speak for me. Then, on a rainy afternoon, I heard the knock. Not at the guest house door. Not at Linda's back door. But at the front gate of the property Fred and I had once shared, the house that was now legally and entirely mine. I looked through the rain-streaked window and saw them. Nathan and Kendra. Drenched. Desperate. Different. They weren't wearing their usual polished arrogance. They looked smaller somehow. Like kids sent home from school for something shameful. I stepped onto the porch. Nathan stepped forward first. "Mom," he said softly. "We need help." I said nothing. Kendra clutched his arm. "We're losing everything. The business is collapsing. The bank froze our accounts. They said we committed fraud when we signed those forms. They might sue." I blinked. "And?" Nathan's voice cracked. "You can fix this. If you just sign a temporary guarantee, just so we can get through this month." "Stop," I said, firm and steady. They both looked at me like I'd slapped them. "I gave you a lifetime of just this once," I said. "A lifetime of being useful. Now you're here not because you love me, but because you lost everything and remembered the person you thought would always bail you out." Kendra's voice rose. "We're your family." I shook my head. "No. You stopped being my family the day you decided I was only as valuable as my checkbook." Nathan's eyes were glassy. "We're sorry. Please. Can't we just stay in the guest house? Just until we get back on our feet." The same guest house they locked me in. The same one with no heating. No privacy. No dignity. I looked past them, at the rusting gate, the puddles forming at their feet. And I remembered. The birthday that never came. The paper plate with a smashed cupcake. The cold dinners. The laughter I wasn't welcome to join. "No," I said. Just that. One word. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is the thing you never allowed yourself to say before. "No." Then I turned and went back inside. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. Because this time, I wasn't the one left in the rain. In next chapter, I'll show you what came next, how one simple video turned into something much bigger, and how the world started listening. If you've ever thought, "It's just me," I want you to hear this next part. Because the moment I spoke up, I discovered I was not alone. Please like, share, and subscribe because your voice, just like mine, could be the spark someone else needs to survive. The day after I turned Nathan and Kendra away, I sat at my kitchen table, yes, my kitchen now, staring at the candle from that little crushed cupcake Ellie gave me. It sat unlit, but this time, I wasn't sad. I was preparing to light it for myself. Instead of crying or questioning myself, I did something bold. I made a video. This time, not in a whisper. Not in a guest house. Not on shaky legs. I sat in my old armchair, the one Fred loved, and I looked straight into the camera. They came back. With nothing. And for the first time in my life, I said no. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I finally remembered who I was. And to the women watching, if they erased you, underestimated you, used you, know this. Your story matters. And it's not over. I posted it with the title, "They Called Me a Burden. Now They Need Me." Within 24 hours, it had over 50,000 views. Within 72 hours, it passed 300,000. The comments poured in like a tidal wave. "You just told my story." I thought I was the only one whose son made her feel disposable. I cried through every word. "Thank you." And then, something I never expected, a message from a producer at a national morning show. They wanted me to come on and share my story. Me, Margaret, the woman who once felt like she didn't exist. I almost said no. I almost told myself it was too much, too fast. But then I thought about all the women still stuck in rooms like mine, in ghost houses, in silence. So I went. I wore my pale blue cardigan, with the button finally sewn back on. I sat under the bright studio lights, shaking but unbroken. And I told my story. Not with anger. With truth. The clip aired nationwide. It went viral online. And just like that, I wasn't just a mother or a widow or a discarded parent. I was a voice. A spark. A mirror for thousands of women who had been hidden for too long. I wasn't just healing, I was helping others find their own strength. And in doing so, I found something else too. Purpose. In next chapter, I'll tell you how I turned that one viral moment into something more, something lasting. And how I started building a life that was finally mine. If you're still with me, thank you. What comes next isn't revenge. It's redemption. Like, share, and subscribe, because what saved me wasn't anger. It was paperwork. Cold, quiet, powerful paperwork they never thought I'd understand. After the interview aired, everything changed. I wasn't just the woman in the garage anymore. I became someone people reached out to. Strangers wrote me letters. Women mailed me handmade scarves, thank you cards, and even paintings with quotes from my videos. But the biggest change wasn't public. It was legal. Diane, my lawyer, helped me take that miracle my husband left me, the trust, the revised will, and turn it into something untouchable. We filed for full recovery of all misappropriated funds. Diane submitted evidence of Nathan's unauthorized withdrawals, forged documents, and abuse of fiduciary duty. Every dollar he took without consent? We traced it. And we went after it. Even Kendra's business expenses disguised as family bills? We challenged them. And the bank? Once we presented the documents Fred had drafted and the proof of fraud, they immediately launched their own investigation. Nathan's name was frozen from every associated account. Kendra's too. They had taken everything from me using pens and signatures. Now I was using the same thing to take it back. I remember the day we filed the final case documents. Diane handed me a folder with my name embossed across the top in gold. "Congratulations," she said. "You're protected now. And if they try anything else, we're ready." It was the first time in years I felt safe. Not because I had a wall or a lock or someone to stand beside me, but because I had proof. Paper that held my name with dignity. Paper that could no longer be twisted by someone else's greed. And more importantly, I had a record. Of my story. My pain. My strength. I wasn't just surviving, I was documenting. And as the views on my videos passed 1 million, then 2 million, I started something new. A community. Not just a comment section. A network of women who had gone through similar betrayals. Women who'd been tricked into signing things. Women who had been told, it's just paperwork. Together, we created a space online called the Silent Ink Society, a resource hub for women over 50 who wanted to understand their financial and legal rights. We hosted free workshops, interviews with lawyers, healing circles, and it all started with that one folder, that one piece of paper that proved I still mattered. So, if you're watching this and you feel like you're drowning in forms, in silence, in shame, know this. Paper can bury you, or it can protect you. It depends on whose hand is holding the pen. In next chapter, I'll tell you what happened when Nathan's life truly unraveled and the day he finally said the words I never thought I'd hear. Sometimes, the people who bury you come crawling back for a shovel. If you've ever had someone betray you, only to return begging, this one's for you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Because what happens next isn't vengeance. It's truth served cold. It was a Monday morning. I was sipping coffee in the kitchen, my kitchen, with fresh flowers in a vase Fred once gave me, when I heard the knock. Not on a screen this time. Not through a gate. The actual door. When I opened it, Nathan was standing there. Alone. His suit was wrinkled. His tie hung from one hand like he didn't know what to do with it anymore. He looked older. Weighed down. Not by time, but by consequence. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. I paused. Long enough for the silence to sting. Then I stepped aside. He didn't sit. Just stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the photographs on the mantel. One's of Fred, of the kids when they were little, and one of me, finally framed in my own home. "I came to say I'm sorry," he said. "I waited. I didn't see it. I didn't realize what we were doing to you. Kendra, she convinced me you'd be fine. That you'd bounce back. But it wasn't just her. I let it happen." He looked down at the floor. "I lost everything, Mom. The business. The car. The house. Kendra left last week. Said she couldn't live like this." I folded my arms. Not with anger. With patience. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do now," he said. "I've burned every bridge." I looked at him for a long time before speaking. "You know," I said, "there were nights in that guest house when I cried so hard I had to bite my pillow not to scream. And the next morning, you would walk by me like I wasn't there. Like I wasn't your mother. And now you want me to help you." He looked up, tears brimming in his eyes. "I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything but a place to stay. Just for a little while." And there it was. The moment I'd imagined so many times. But I didn't feel power. I felt clarity. "Nathan," I said gently, "I forgive you." His eyes widened. "But that doesn't mean I'm giving you the keys back." He nodded slowly, his face falling again. "You need to rebuild the right way," I said. "Not by crawling back to the people you discarded, but by owning what you did and building something better." He started to cry. Quietly. Almost like a child. And for the first time in years, I felt like a mother again. But this time, I didn't have to give up anything to keep that feeling. I walked him to the door, gave him a sandwich to take with him. Nothing more. Because love isn't always rescuing someone. Sometimes it's letting them learn to walk on the ashes they made. In next chapter, I'll tell you what came after his visit and how I finally found peace in a way I never expected. If you've ever wondered whether healing is possible after everything's been taken from you, this chapter is your answer. Like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes peace doesn't come from going back. It comes from going forward. I didn't expect peace to feel like this. Not loud or triumphant. Not fireworks or revenge served cold. Just quiet. Just stillness. The kind of silence that doesn't sting anymore, it soothes. After Nathan's visit, I sat alone for a while. Not crying. Not raging. Just breathing. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to love me the right way. I was loving myself, finally. I started looking for places outside the city. Somewhere softer. Somewhere mine. Not a guest house. Not a borrowed room. A home. The viral videos, the donations from supporters, the small ad revenue, and Diane's sharp legal work had all given me something I never thought I'd have again. Options. And with those options, I bought a little place on the edge of a lake. A small, sunlit cottage with chipped paint and creaky floorboards and a porch that begged for rocking chairs. It wasn't grand, but it was real. It was mine. I painted the walls yellow, hung the photos I wanted, framed Fred's old letter and placed it in my new hallway, right above a row of coat hooks. Every morning, I made coffee and watched the fog lift off the lake like a curtain opening on a play. Every evening, I answered emails from women around the world. One wrote, "I left him. After 32 years, I finally left. I watched your story every night for a week until I had the strength to pack a bag. Thank you." Another said, "My daughter stole my money, just like your son. But I took her off my accounts. And I'm learning how to draw again. I feel alive." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just my story anymore. It was ours. The Silent Ink Society, our online community, kept growing. Women held virtual meetups, shared resources, sent each other care packages. They were healing together. And so was I. One day, a delivery man came to drop off a box. He looked at the name on the label, then at me. "You're that lady from YouTube, right? The one who told her story." I nodded. He smiled wide. "My mom watches you every week. Said you changed her life." I smiled back. Not out of pride, out of recognition. Because for the first time in a long time, I knew who I was. Not a burden. not a background character in someone else's life. A voice, a woman, a survivor. In next chapter, the past returns in the form of an unexpected letter, and what it contains might change the rest of my life. They say the past always finds its way back. But sometimes, what it brings isn't pain, it's perspective. If you've ever received a message too late, or just in time, like, share, and subscribe. Because today, the past knocked quietly on my new door. It came in a plain envelope. No return address. No fancy postage or official seal. Just my name, handwritten in blue ink I recognized immediately. Ellie, my granddaughter. Inside was a folded piece of notebook paper and a drawing. Crayons. Bold colors. A house with flowers. A lady with gray hair standing on a porch, holding a cup of tea, smiling. Underneath it, in the unsteady handwriting of an 8-year-old, "This is you now, Grandma. You look happy here." I sat down right there on the porch steps and let the tears come not out of sadness, out of release. There was something else in the envelope too. A note. "Mom and Dad said we can't visit you right now, but I remembered your new address from your video. I miss you. I watch your stories when no one is home. You're famous. Love, Ellie." Famous. I smiled. Not because I wanted to be, but because somehow, in all of this, she still saw me. The real me. Not the burden her parents painted. Not the shadow in the guest house. But the woman in the yellow house on the lake. The strong one. I wrote her back that night. Didn't say anything bad about her parents. Didn't explain the lawsuits or the silence. Just wrote, "You are the best part of me. I'll always be here when you're ready. There will always be tea. And crayons. And warm hugs. Love, Grandma." I folded it carefully and added a photograph, me, holding the first mug I ever sold with the Silent Ink Society logo on it. Then I mailed it. No expectations. No pressure. Just a promise. I went back inside, sat down in front of my camera, and recorded another message, not just for Ellie, but for every little girl out there watching. If someone ever makes you feel small so they can feel big, walk away. You don't owe your pain to anyone, but you do owe yourself peace. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find a home where your truth lives out loud. In next chapter, I'll show you what happened when the Silent Ink Society became more than a community, it became a movement. And how we turned pain into power. What if I told you one story, your story, could become a lifeline for thousands? That your voice, once buried in silence, could become the match that lights a revolution? Like, share, and subscribe. Because this chapter isn't just about me. It's about us. The Silent Ink Society started as a simple hashtag. Hashtag Silent Ink, a way for women to tag their stories online. Stories like mine about being forgotten, used, discarded. But what happened next, even I didn't see coming. The name came from the idea that our pain had always been written in invisible ink. Quiet. Erased. Unnoticed. But now we were writing in bold black strokes. After my interview went viral and the videos gained traction, I started receiving messages not just from women in the U.S., but from around the world. India, Canada, Kenya, Brazil, Germany. Women of every color, every class, every faith. They had been stolen from, lied to, silenced. And now, they were speaking. We began hosting online meetings, at first just 5 of us on a Zoom call, sharing stories over coffee and tear-streaked screens. But soon it grew. 10, 50, hundreds. Women who had once been invisible now showing up with notebooks, pens, and a fierce new fire in their eyes. We invited attorneys, social workers, financial counselors. We created guides on recognizing financial abuse, protecting your legal rights, rebuilding life after betrayal, emotional healing after family trauma, and then came something I never imagined, a publishing offer. A memoir. They wanted me to tell the whole story, from the guest house to the lake house, from betrayal to breakthrough. I said yes, but only if I could include chapters written by other women from the Silent Ink Society. Real stories, unfiltered. And they agreed. The book is coming out next spring. It's called Written in Her Name: The Stories They Tried to Erase. It's not just a memoir, it's a movement. And the proceeds? Every penny goes toward a fund we created for women escaping domestic financial abuse, to help them relocate, hire lawyers, reclaim their lives. From nothing but one video, one voice, one tear-soaked story, we built a ladder out of silence. And now, we're climbing it together. In next chapter, I'll tell you what happened when someone from my past, someone I never expected, asked for forgiveness. But not all apologies come wrapped in sincerity. Not every sorry is sincere. Sometimes, it's a strategy. If you've ever been offered an apology that felt more like manipulation than remorse, this chapter is for you. Like, share, and subscribe, because healing doesn't mean going back. It means standing your ground. It was a message. Simple, unassuming. From my daughter, Mara. She hadn't spoken to me in nearly a year. Not when Fred died. Not when I was forced into the guest house. Not when the house was taken or the videos went viral. Not once. And now? Now she wrote, "Mom, I've been watching your videos. I didn't realize it was that bad. I'm sorry. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long time. This wasn't the child who held my hand in the grocery store or cried in my lap after her first heartbreak. This was the woman who ghosted me, who sided with Nathan and Kendra, who said, "Mom, you're just too emotional," and left me there. But curiosity has a funny way of cracking old doors open. So I agreed to meet. We sat at a little cafe near the lake. Neutral ground. 2 cups of coffee between us and 1,000 unspoken things. Mara looked tired. Aged not by time, but by consequence. Her eyes were rimmed with guilt. Or maybe just discomfort. "I watched your interview," she said, stirring cream into her cup without looking at me. It was intense. I said nothing, let her speak. I didn't know things had gotten that bad. Nathan never told me. I raised an eyebrow. "And you never asked." She looked up sharply. I was dealing with my own stuff. The divorce. The kids. Life. I nodded. So was I. Only difference is, I never stopped being your mother. There it was. A flicker of something, shame, maybe, or resentment. "I came to say I'm sorry," she said. I should have done more. I waited, because something in her tone wasn't right. Then came the real reason. It's just, things are tight right now. I lost my job. The boys' school bills are piling up. I was wondering if maybe you could. There it was. Not an apology. A pitch. Not a daughter reclaiming her mother. A woman reclaiming a resource. My heart ached, but it didn't break. Not this time. Because this time I was whole. "Mara," I said softly, "I forgive you. But I'm not your backup plan." She stiffened. "I didn't mean it like that." "You meant it exactly like that. And that's okay. You're scared. But I'm not the woman you used to know. I'm not waiting to be needed again." Her eyes welled up, but I didn't move to comfort her. Because healing doesn't mean surrender. It means remembering your worth even when their love is conditional. We parted with polite hugs, but no promises. And as I walked back to my cottage, the air cool and crisp, I realized something. Forgiveness isn't a door you open for them. It's one you walk through alone. And on the other side is peace. In next chapter, I'll show you what true closure looks like and how one small moment made me realize the journey wasn't just for me. It was for everyone watching. Healing is rarely loud. It happens quietly over coffee, over tears, over stories shared across screens. But the moment you realize you're not alone, that's when everything changes. Like, share, and subscribe, because this story may have started with one voice, but now it echoes across thousands. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I was walking down to the edge of the lake, same as I did every day, wrapped in my cardigan, holding my favorite chipped mug. The mist was low, curling above the water like a dream. It was peaceful, familiar. And then I saw them. 3 women standing by the dock. Strangers. At least at first glance. But when I got closer, they smiled, genuinely, not the way Kendra used to, and one of them stepped forward, holding a phone. "I hope this isn't weird," she said, almost breathless. "We drove 3 hours. We saw your lake in one of your videos. We just wanted to thank you." Another woman stepped forward and added, "You saved my life. I was days away from signing everything over to my daughter. Then I watched your 3rd video, the one where you said you were more than a signature. That woke me up." And then the 3rd woman, older, gray hair like mine, held out a necklace. A small, handmade charm. It read, "Seen. Heard. Whole. We made these for the Silent Ink Society meetup next month. You should have the first one." I took it in trembling hands. I wanted to say something profound. Instead, I just whispered, "Thank you." Because they weren't strangers at all. They were me. Pieces of me. Reflections of the pain I had once buried and the strength I'd reclaimed. We sat on the dock for hours that morning, sharing stories, passing around a thermos of tea, laughing through the tears. They weren't fans. They were family. Not by blood. By truth. By survival. By the choice to speak. When they left, I watched them drive away with the necklace still warm in my hand. And I realized I was never truly alone. None of us are. They just make us feel that way, so we'll stay quiet. But when we speak, when we connect, when we share, we rewrite the ending. And now, in next chapter, the final chapter, I'll share the legacy I'm leaving behind. Not just for my children, but for every woman who has ever been told she's too old, too much, or not enough. This is it. The last chapter. But before I share it, please like, share, and subscribe. Not for me. For the woman who needs this right now. Because maybe she's where I once was, alone, scared, and waiting for a sign that her life still matters. I used to think legacy was a will. A house. A bank account. Something written down, notarized, locked in a drawer. But I've come to understand something deeper. Legacy isn't what you leave behind when you're gone. It's what you live into when they expect you to disappear. My legacy isn't my house. It's the thousands of women who now know their worth. It's the daughter who didn't sign the papers. The mother who left the garage and didn't look back. The grandmother who started over with nothing but courage and a YouTube login. It's Ellie. She wrote me another letter last week. Inside was a drawing of a girl holding a microphone. Beneath it, she wrote, "I want to be brave like you, Grandma." That's legacy. It's not about fixing the people who hurt you. It's about healing yourself so completely they can no longer rewrite your story. Nathan still calls sometimes. So does Mara. I answer when I want to. I help when I choose to, not from guilt, but from clarity. They still live with their decisions. I live with mine. And mine brought me peace. The Silent Ink Society now holds in-person retreats. We hug. We cry. We scream into the ocean. We make art, write stories, and remind each other that age is not the end. It's the edge of something extraordinary. As for me, I sit here now in my cottage by the lake with Fred's photo above the fireplace and a community behind me that spans the globe. I press record one more time, and I say, to the woman watching this, yes, you. If you've ever been made to feel small, if they forgot your birthday or took your house or laughed when you said you still had dreams, remember this. You are not done. You are not broken. You are not invisible. You are becoming. Like, share, and subscribe. Not to follow me, but to walk beside me. Because this isn't just my story. It's yours too. And now it's ours. The Andy, thank you for watching. You are not alone.